Episode number 788, Room Full of Referrals 10th Anniversary.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California, and I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
I am in Austin, Texas this week and getting prepared for the holidays. It's great to have the holidays and be with family. And I'm really excited to have our guest on today. And I think you have something to say about our guest, don't you,
I
Priscilla?
do. Our guest is Dawn Lyons, and she actually was the person who referred, I guess, myself to Ivan or Ivan to myself, but she brought us together, so that I'm so grateful. Thank you, Dawn.
And that was 14 years ago, practically. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Long time ago.
2007.
And I am so glad that Dawn made that referral. Dawn is the co-author with me and Tony Alessandra of the book A Room Full of Referrals. She's also a BNI executive director for 22 years. She started, I think, at 18 with BNI. And she has 70 chapters, 70 chapters in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're also the co-founders together. Dawn and I and a couple of other people of Ascentive, an international training and consulting organization in 23 countries. And we're here today to celebrate the 10th anniversary of our book, Room Full of Referrals. Dawn, my friend, welcome to the BNI podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Priscilla. I'm so happy that this connection was made and it's still going today. It's just a testament to the two of you and the dedication. I love it.
Thank you,
A
honey.
14-year relationship came about as a result of it.
Incredible.
Wow. Great referral.
And Ivan, I was a little embarrassed. I actually did the Room Full of Referrals for our training just last week here in Santa Rosa to about 150 or 100 BNI members. And I had told the audience, Ivan was the one that reminded me that it was the 10th anniversary of our book. So thank you. And I can't believe it's been 10 years.
My pleasure. And, I tell people, Tony Alessandra is probably the world's leading expert on DISC systems, drive, influence, steadiness, compliance. I'm considered to be a pretty good expert on networking, but you, my friend, I believe are literally the world's leading expert on DISC profiles and networking. I don't know of anybody who understands the process of networking as it relates to behavior profiles like DISC better than you. And I'm really happy to have done the book with you and to have you on the podcast today.
Excellent. Yes, so excited.
So tell people in a moment about the 4 behavioral styles. And just so you know, if you've got somebody in one of your chapters that does DISC behavior profiles, talk to them. Sometimes we get people mad because we're talking about DISC profiles. Don't get mad. Instead, talk to the member in your chapter that does DISC profiles because they can help you in what Dawn's going to be talking about here. So talk about the 4 major behavioral styles.
Yeah, so there's 4 of them. And the key thing is that we're all a blend of each of the styles. So it's about the different intensity levels. And I think that's the thing that really shows up in people is that high or that really low intensity level. So we've got some cool titles for them. We changed the titles from the DISC titles just so that they were more appropriate while seeing people networking. So if you're at a networking function and you kind of see this person that's bebopping all around and they're giving big hugs and they got big smiles, that's what we call our promoters. Right. And our promoters are just those fun-loving, energetic folks. They love meeting new people.
And in DISC, they'd be a high I, right?
Correct. Yes,
Right.
That's the high I. Absolutely. And then there's another group of folks that tend to stand around the outside of the room, kind of observe things, kind of take notice of what their next step might be, and then kind of set a plan for that next step. But they tend to hang out on the outside of the room more often. And that's what we call our examiners.
And what would they be in the disc?
That would be the C, the compliant.
I see. Yeah.
Okay.
For those of you who know disc,
Yeah.
we've renamed them for networking styles, and I think it's really appropriate. The examiners are the high C.
Yep. And then the high S is what we would consider the nurturer. And the nurturer, when you see them networking, they're networking in more of an individual conversation, right? The promoters might be talking to 5, 6, 7, 8 people, but the nurturers are going to be more on that one-to-one, a little bit more intimate. You'll see them talking closer together even. It's because they're really looking to build that relationship and get to know you as a person first. And then last, but of course not least, normally I start with them because they like to win and like to be number one. And that's the high D, or what we consider the go-getter. And you're going to notice the go-getter networking, they tend to be a little bit more dressed up maybe than the rest of the folks. They just look good as an overall package, but you'll see them move through the room with purpose. And they kind of have this goal set. And they want to meet the right people. They want to spend the right amount of time. And then they're probably going to get the heck out of there because they've got other things to do and to work on. But that's what we call the go-getters.
The go-getter. No, I don't think you mentioned the high S.
That's the nurturer.
The nurturer. Okay.
Yep.
So those are the 4 characteristics from the roomful of referrals, the 4 major behavioral styles. And I can certainly relate to the high D. That's probably where I lean. Well, it's definitely where I lean. And
Yeah.
Dawn, you are a promoter.
Actually, my go-getter and promoter are tied.
Are tied?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Absolutely. Tied in the very, very high segment. I normally come in at either 1s or 0s on both of them. I can
Okay.
flip either way. And if I'm with more people, I think my promoter definitely comes out because I
Yeah.
want everybody to have fun. But boy, you get me down to business and I can be down to business in about a half a second.
Yeah, that's true. So why is it important to understand these behavioral styles in building relationships with people?
Well, especially in any referral relationship, I saw this the first time and I told someone, I said, you know what? That referral relationship right there is not going to work.
Mhm.
And it happened to be Mike Macedonio. And I told him this during a training program where 2 referral partners were trying to deepen their relationship. And there was one of the people was a go-getter and the other person was an examiner. And I could feel the stress of the examiner because the go-getter was really pushing forward in a way that the examiner just was not ready for. And I said, if he keeps pushing like that, that relationship is just going to explode because the examiner is not being treated the way that they need to be treated in that relationship. So anytime we want to build a relationship, we want that strong foundation. But if we understand people, that's going to change the way we build the foundation. So that's why I think it's so critical.
Now, not everyone knows who Mike Macedonio is in relation to you. Do you want to share that?
True. Thank you, Ivan, for referring me to what was then called the Referral Institute. Mike is actually today my husband and best friend.
Yeah, awesome. And so you pointed out why that relationship could potentially, the 2 people you were talking about, could be a
Mhm.
challenge, and
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was. And I'm just curious here. I'm running with this. What did you do because of witnessing that?
Well, that was when I basically shared with him that, listen, I've been trained in behavioral styles. And if we're going to teach people how to build referral partnerships, we better be teaching them about behavioral styles so that they can treat people accordingly within the relationship. Otherwise, relationships are just going to keep, fading out because people
Yeah.
just aren't being treated appropriately.
Yeah, and you've got a really good story about the idea of treating people the way they want to be treated, which our co-author Tony Alessandra calls the platinum rule, treating people the way they want to be treated. You have one of the best stories, and I hope you remember it, about two people that gave you that you gave referrals to, and they gave you a gift. Do you remember that story? They gave you a gift, and One was
Oh,
the
yes.
way they liked to treat people, and one was the way you wanted to be treated. Do you remember that story?
I think so. I hope this is the right one.
All right.
So I got a referral to speak, and so the woman that thanked me, she thanked me by giving me a huge basket. It was beautiful. It was all full of coffee.
Mhm.
And I hate coffee. If you know me at all, I don't drink coffee. I think it stinks. I just don't like it. And then I've had other people, give me gifts. Mike was one of the first people gave me a gift to. It was the Frommer's Guide to Greece and a
Yeah.
Greek calendar, and that was the place that I wanted to go more than anything at that point in time. The interesting part is he had to call a friend of mine to find that out. So he took the
Mm.
time to understand what I really wanted to do versus
And what I
coffee.
love about that story is a big basket probably cost more money than a calendar or
Oh,
the
yes.
thing. But the calendar was something that really interested you,
Yeah.
like photographs of Greece. And so this is really what Roomful of Referrals kind of focuses on is treat people the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. And
Mhm.
there you were motivated by Greece, not by coffee. And
Ex-
Mike took the time to learn that. And that was particularly important.
Yep.
So the 10th anniversary of Roomful of Referrals, and we'll put a link here in BNI Podcast. You got to get a copy of it if you don't have a copy. It's a great book. It's had an amazing reach. Any thoughts about the reach before we wrap up?
Yeah. This book has helped people with not just their business relationships or their referral relationships, but I've had people tell me multiple times we've saved their marriage. So
Mm.
it works all across the span of your entire life.
Well, listen, I've been a big believer in behavior profiles for a long time in understanding people. When I was a management consultant back in the early 80s, I learned the DISC system, and it's been very helpful. And I highly recommend it. If you've got a consultant in one of your chapters that does it, talk to them because it can really help you in understanding the people that work for you. And if you would like to understand how to network more effectively, pick up a copy of Roomful of Referrals. Any last thought before we wrap up?
One thing my mentor said to me early on, when you know more about people than you do your product, you'll be unusually successful in business. And I
Wow.
love that. And that's what I want for everyone.
Yeah, great observation. Don, thank you so much for being on BNI Podcast. You're a good friend, and it's a pleasure to have you as part of BNI.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Over to you, Priscilla.
Okay, thank you. Don, I remember when I attended one of your workshops on the Room Full of Referrals, and it's a wonderful reminder of that day, actually, all these categories. So that's it for this week. This podcast is sponsored by MeisnerAudioprograms.com. These audio programs will provide you with the tools and the inspiration to powerfully enhance your BNI experience. So check out the great material that's available to you at MeisnerAudioprograms.com and then use the promo code IVAN50 for 50% off of everything. All of the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thank you so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI podcast.